Well, okay, I'd like to talk to you a little bit today about the annotated bibliography, which is coming up fairly shortly. And I'd like to just start off by pointing out that not all instructors, not everybody sees the merits of this assignment, okay? And I've sat through some faculty meetings where I've heard faculty members say things like, well, this makes no sense, annotated bib, what kind of skills, the students don't need these skills in the real life, that kind of thing, all right? And I just want to say that's not true. All right, that, first of all, let me back up and point out what an annotated bibliography really is, all right? An annotated bibliography is simply a list, a properly formatted list of all of your research to date, okay? And it also contains some notes about how valuable that research is, what that research says, that kind of thing. It's basically an organizational tool. Now, organizational tool. What's wrong in life with learning how to be organized, okay? There's nothing wrong with learning how to be organized. There's nothing wrong with learning how to do the research. You don't buy a car, you don't buy a book, you don't buy a flat screen TV without researching it first, okay? So this is what I'm causing you to do. I'm causing you to get your research organized. I'm causing you to do the research, all right? And these are really skills that you're going to do all your life, this kind of stuff. Maybe not exactly the same format, but this idea of getting organized, this idea of methodically thinking through a project, this idea of methodically going out and looking at issues before you finally decide where you stand on the issue, this is a lifelong skill. Okay, so I would like to point out that it's a difficult assignment and it's a time-consuming assignment. It's difficult for two reasons. One, getting things listed correctly according to APA or MLA, and in my classes I do MLA, is not easy. If you're a nurse, of course, whatever, you may use APA. Other disciplines use different types of citing, okay, but generally I use MLA. But I'm open to whatever it is that you need for your own discipline as long as you do it correctly. All right. Now that's difficult enough. Okay. Then the other thing is just doing research isn't easy. We do the research through academic databases. They're not always intuitive. There's a lot of stuff there to look at. Okay. It's very, very time consuming. Some of the material seems to contradict itself, so you have to think your way through it. All of which are good skills, thinking your way through issues. All right. So I just want to point out that it is a hard assignment. All right. Now, that said, let's look at the goals for this assignment. Okay. First of all, it causes you to get all your research done by a certain date. Duh. It causes you to get the work done. All right? Can't procrastinate. All right? Then another thing, I've already alluded to this, is it causes you to organize your research. Nothing wrong with being organized. And as you're doing it, it causes you to internalize the research. There's nothing wrong with thinking about your thinking, getting this material to start soaking into your head. Okay? So that's another goal. A third goal is it does cause you to start to learn the citing. This is a necessary evil, and I'm sorry about it, but all disciplines do citing, professional, business, it's not just academic, okay? And the reason for this is that you do things in a certain way so that other people can recognize them and follow your research, okay? And then last but not least, it gives me a chance to gauge where you are at this point in the project, to gauge how well you're doing the research, to gauge how successful you're being at finding good quality articles, okay? So that's four of the main goals, okay? But beyond that, there's a larger goal, and if we think again, as we had throughout this course, about the IPFW Baccalaureate Framework, the IPFW Baccalaureate Framework is a set of goals that the university wants us to teach you and wants you to accomplish before you graduate, and these are lifelong learning goals. These are lifelong skills that they have in mind, that the university has thought out very carefully, that they want you to have, that you're paying for, okay? And if you achieve these goals, you're going to get your value for your education, okay? So one of the main goals, of course, is always to acquire knowledge. Well, that's what the research causes you to do. It causes you to acquire knowledge, right? And then also it causes you to acquire the conventions of citing, that kind of thing, all right? I think more importantly than acquiring knowledge, the knowledge is always there. You can always find it nowadays. This is the information age. More than that, this assignment causes you to become part of a learning community, and IPFW is very large on wanting you to be part of a community, all right? And in this particular case, you become part of this community of conversationalists. There's a conversation already going on about your topic. Trust me, okay? You didn't invent this topic, right? So there's already this conversation going on about it. And the conversation at one level is going on among professionals, people who study this topic, who live with this topic, who live and breathe the topic all the time. And they're already conversing about this. And in some cases, they may have been conversing about this for hundreds of years, all right? So this conversation may have started hundreds of years ago or decades ago, and of course it's going on right at this instant, and it's going on in the future. So by causing you to be working on your annotated bib now, you are entering this conversation. You are starting to talk about this knowledge, all right? Very, very important conversation, and it takes place in all disciplines and all factors of your life. Mothering, parenting, cars, hobbies, jobs, food, you name it. There are these conversations going on, and it behooves you, it's good for you to enter this conversation because it helps place you within your own life, within the conversation, where suddenly you have this huge body of knowledge to draw on, where you're not making isolated, dumb decisions, okay? And then also, as always, this kind of project is aimed at causing you to critically think. Critical thinking may be somewhat of a new term. It just basically, like I said this before, means thinking outside of the envelope, thinking along the edge of the envelope, okay? As Jim Morrison said, breaking on through the other side. Pushing through a topic until you see not the hidden meaning, but the real meaning, what's really there about it to really look at, okay? That's what critical thinking is. It's about pushing. Okay. As you figured out by now, we're doing the research through databases. We're not using Google. I love Google, okay? I use Google every day, all right, all the time. It's still not a very good way to surf the World Wide Web, okay, because there's way too much junk out there on the web. So that's why we use databases. Academic databases, professional databases, business databases, they've already weeded out the junk for you. That's the whole point, okay? Now, to accomplish this assignment, I've laid out all the material for you in the learning module. This is not a place to be taking shortcuts, all right? It's really, really critical that you go through the table of contents for the learning module very carefully and pay attention to everything I put in there on your behalf, okay? There's a lecture in there on using Academic Search Premier. There's a lecture in there on Opposing Viewpoints Resource Center. Great place, all right? Of course, there's lectures on citing there. You just have to do those. I'm sorry about that. There's a very important lecture on setting up a works cited list, okay? Your annotated bib and your works cited list are very similar. There's also the criteria for this assignment. Please find that. There's a rubric, how I'm going to grade it. Please find that. And then I have examples. I've given you successful examples of how other students have done this and gotten A's on this project, okay? And then, of course, you have Ask the Librarian feature. That's the feature in which you can ask Sue Skekloff, the librarian, the research librarian for W131, to help you find key terms, search words, to help you actually use the databases. She will not do the research for you, but you can ask her questions, you can tell her you're stumped, where should you turn, what she should look for. You have to tell her what your topic is. You have to tell her in detail what your topic is, all right? And then she can help you devise a list of search terms and tell you which database you ought to plug those in to start finding articles. So be sure to start this project early, all right? I've already said it's a difficult assignment. It's a very time-consuming assignment. I've provided all the information there for you to do well on it, but it's going to take you some time to go through it all. So as usual, if you have questions, ask me, but be sure to ask Sue. Okay, she's the one with the answers to this assignment.